recording light tonight. There we go. Welcome, church family. It is Wednesday, March 31st. It's the last Wednesday and the last day of March, and we're closing our theme this month on this session. But what's more important to know is there's 5 Wednesdays in a month, fifth Wednesday is what? Christopher Brown speaking. Yahoo for us. So we celebrate Christopher being here with us tonight. Our Wednesday night service, some of us call it an oasis. It's a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. Our Wednesday night service is designed in a satsang style where a speaker speaks on a subject and then opens it up for discussion. This is something that Reverend Jeff started when he came to us in 2015. And his goal and intention was that our Wednesday nights would always be informal, intimate, and rich. And that's what our plan is for tonight. Our annual theme is Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision. And our monthly theme, which Christopher is going to close in some way or in some shape, in some form tonight, is Open to Possibilities. And we're also recognizing Women's History Month as well. If you're here for this first time, we welcome you so very, very much. In this land of Zoom, you can sign up for our newsletter to stay connected on our homepage of our website, and I'll tell you more about that as the evening progresses. Please note that you will be zoomed by our team. Yes, indeed. Take 2. You will be muted by our Zoom team to improve the quality of transmission. So with that in mind, I'd like to bring forward the wonderful practitioner, Susan Urquhart Brown, and ask her to open us in prayer. Susan?
Thank you, Paul. So let's just take a breath together and breathing into that oneness, into that space of spaciousness, of divine presence, of the divine spirit that is ever present in every single moment, in such precious moments. And just breathing into this spirit of the divine that is our beautiful OCSL community, that is each and every person who is here tonight and who is listening on the recording, that this is a village and this is a time of love and compassion and holding one another as we move as a village through this tender time, knowing that each and every one of us is moving forward in our own space, in our own way, in our own divine timing. And so my heart is full of gratitude for each and every one of us in the village and beyond. And I'm grateful for Wednesday service so that we can meet in dialogue midweek, which is a beautiful way to come together as a community. So I bless this service today, knowing that that which needs to be spoken, that which needs to be heard, and that which needs to be inspiring to our hearts, uplifting to each and every one, is already here, complete and present and done, even before we hear from our illustrious speaker, Christopher. And knowing that each and every one is in their right and perfect place, and that there is such big heartfulness and being together, even on Zoom, feeling that grace and ease and kindness and compassion of our community for one another. So I am simply grateful for this evening. So all we need to do is to release the word and let it go. And even though I may not hear you, let's say together, and so it is.
And
Amen.
so it is. Thank you so much, Susan. As always, you do such a wonderful prayer, and that has grounded us for this evening. I too am grateful. It is a tender time. And as we move through our Wednesdays going forward, we're going to treat each and every chance we get together to hold one another, as Susan said. We are a village, and it's our job to help support each and every one of us through this very sad but inspiring time as we remember Reverend Jeff going forward. I don't know of anybody else that could cap off this month and cradle us in this tender period any better than the speaker that we have tonight. His name is Christopher Brown, and he's one of our practitioners. That you already know. But here's a few things. First of all, he'll be speaking on accepting what is. See, I told you, perfect. Timing, everything about Christopher Brown is perfect. And with his wife, Susan Urquhart Brown, who I also consider perfect, they host local and international retreats based on their Power of Presence seminars. Together, they host a circled group of independent researchers on the second Saturday of every month in and from their home, which has met consistently now for over a decade. Christopher has been serving in the Oakland Center for over 15 years and has been a key supporter and contributor of the facilities team. And he's currently my co-partner in Grime, co-leading with me our fabulous facilities team. In addition to that, Christopher is what I call the professor of the physical universe. He can solve any problem and fix any mechanical situation. So I'm grateful that he's here tonight. Christopher, I turn it over to you. I welcome you, and I know we're going to have a wonderful time. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Oh, Paul, you're so sweet. Well, welcome everyone. It's really a privilege to be here, especially in this tender time, and especially given the topic that we have right now. So accepting what is, that's a real tall order. I mean, it's something that I fight with. Perhaps I'm the only one, but I fight with that often. You know, I don't want to accept what is. I want to change it. But I know that life is constantly changing. I know that. I can see it. Here we are in spring. It comes up new, alive, and fresh in every moment. Whether we see it or not, it's ever changing. When we put our foot in the stream, it's not the stream moment by moment, it's fresh new water in that stream. If you think of the University of California, it looks like the University of California there in Berkeley. But it's continuously changing. They're building buildings, they're tearing it down, the students are coming and going. There is nothing really permanent about that. It's continuously changing. So what I do know is the people that are most successful in life, the people that find ease in their life, are people that can adapt and can accommodate. They're big enough to accept change as it comes. They might not like it, but they're big enough to accept the change. And this is what we're called to do at this tender time. Change has happened. I don't think any of us wanted this particular change, but yet it is here. And so it's before us now is how do we adjust, adapt, and accommodate what is actually happening? How do we get back to ease in this situation? We're an interesting species, and that means that we kind of like change. We like the surprise of change, but we also like it permanent. We like a certain kind of change. We like change that doesn't disrupt the way we want the world to show up for us. We want it conditionally according to our point of view. Case in point, it's like when the farmer wants rain and we want to ride our bicycle, we're in conflict. Who's got the right answer there when it starts to rain. The farmer's rejoicing, and we're in a drama now because we want to ride our bikes. So this difference between change is constantly happening. Weather is a really good example of that. It's like, how do we adapt to that change? Well, some of us are fine with the weather changing, except if it gets too hot or if it gets too cold, then we're not comfortable again. So you can see it's really a slippery slope. Is it really the circumstances, or is it our relationship to the circumstances? Meaning some people like cold weather and other people like hot weather. So is it the hot weather or the cold weather, or is it our relationship to that weather? And that's the inside job. That's where we get to take a look at and to explore, how are we holding the circumstances as they arrive? As change is constantly moving, how am I holding that change? Now, I want good relationships. I want good health. I don't particularly want any more wrinkles. I'd love to have my hair back. I would like a very responsive government. And I'd like the world to be in a much more cooperative place in terms of climate change. That's what I would like. I really would like that. But was what is so right now, because it's all changing. And I can either fight with that change to my detriment, because every time I fight reality, reality always kicks my butt. Reality is always reality. So it's behoovent upon me to actually adjust to reality, to align with reality. You could say to align with spirit, because it's all spirit arising. How do I align with reality or spirit without having to look at what am I holding on to? And that's the key, and that's the rub, because I want it my way. And is it really my will, or is it thy will? And that's the differentiation right here. And that's the surrender to accepting what is. When we accept what is, we're surrendering our idea that should be different. It should be better. It shouldn't have happened. We're giving up on that idea and we're accepting it as it is. And boy, that's a tall piece of work. How many want to accept the death of a loved one? The loss of our health, the loss of a job, the loss of, and you fill in the blank. No, we don't want to accept that. But the reality is, we might not want to accept it now, but eventually we will be forced in a way to accept it, because that's what's going on. And so it's, how again do we align with what's going on? Now, the mind, the psychology of the mind is very clever here, because we love permanence. We love to be able to count on something. We love solid ground. We want to be able to control our life. We don't want to know blah, blah, blah. You fill in the blanks. But how much control do we really, really have? And is it possible to become a little bit less attached to having our way all the time? Is it possible to stop demanding life show up the way we want it to show up? Because maybe life has a better way of showing up that we had no idea. Maybe our demand for life showing up a certain way actually withholds possibilities of something better arising. So it's dependent upon our point of view. Can we relax and widen our point of view? Now, what I do know is when I become present to this very moment, when I relax and float into this moment, before a thought arises, there is that quiet period of silence. And in that quiet period, there's no thought and there's no problem. Because where the problems really arise is not in nature, but in our minds. In my mind, wanting it to be different. So this is the inside job, is Perhaps our suffering is caused by a thought that it should be different than the way it is. It might be just that simple. If we have a picture of reality on one side and the way we want it on the other side, and if the two are identical, then we're happy. But if reality doesn't match the way we want it, our expectations, or how we know it could be, then we can have a problem, depending upon how attached we are to the outcome. The Buddhists talk about impermanence, that everything is changing, and that suffering comes from clinging to something that is inherently impermanent, that always comes and goes. And it's kind of true for us also. Unless we accept we are stuck in trying to change the past, which we're unable to do. Perhaps we can change our thinking about the past, but we're not able to change the actual path. So this points right back to, it's an inside job. If we actually were to change the way we hold it, perhaps we can change our whole life moving forward. And that's the power of accepting what is, getting to that point of acceptance. Now, this is all tied in with the nervous system. When things don't go our way, it puts us into survival mode. We don't like this. And we come up with opposition. We come up with a fight or a flight. We also can collapse, or we could freeze. These are the various strategies we have to deal with when loss occurs, when things are taken away, when change happens. Every day we experience the loss of something. And with every loss, there is a little grieving period or a huge grieving period, depending upon the size of the loss and the magnitude of the loss. All of us have lost friends. Relationships have changed. Some of us have lost jobs. This pandemic, we've lost quite a bit. And most recently, we've lost Reverend Jeff. And it's like how to be at ease with that, but not to bypass it. How to become comfortable with loss. And that's the challenge. That is truly the challenge. The first thing I can say is there's no right way to grieve. There's no right way to handle loss. I mean, I know there's a lot of ways. We can self-medicate with alcohol and with drugs. We can dismiss it. It was nothing. We can do a spiritual bypass. We can actually use spiritual tools. We can continually put it out of our mind and avoid dealing with it completely. We can bury it. Those are some of the many strategies about dealing with loss. I've tried them all. And we're going to try a little exercise. Peggy's going to set us up into groups of twos. You're going to be going to a breakout room with a wonderful partner. And what you're going to be discussing is, if you were to look back through your life, how do you approach grief? How do you approach loss? What do you do when you are experiencing loss? How has that been for you? Do you have a habit or a pattern when you experience loss or grief? And so the first aspect here is observing, what am I doing? Because we have to discover, what are we doing before we can even possibly look at changing that. So you get the idea of what we're going to be doing and discussing in our little breakout group there, and you'll be pressing the join button. How do you grieve loss or change? And just discuss that with a wonderful partner. And Peggy, if you'll break us out now.
Sure.
Hi. Oh, yes, thank you, David.
Well, hopefully that brought up some things.
Mhm.
Anybody share what they might have taken a look just briefly and what their strategy was? And was their strategy different for different size loss and different kinds of grieving? Would anybody be brave enough to jump in?
I will.
Yes.
So I'm not sure that we actually got to full-fledged strategy. We were kind of talking a little bit more about different kinds of loss, different kinds of grief, and how we deal with it and change.
Mhm.
And yeah, there are very different things. We were talking, I'll share one of the things that came up is, if you have notice and sort of preparation, knowing somebody is going to die, as opposed to a situation where it's an accident, it's tragic, it's shocking,
Right.
and you have to, it's a different level of coming to a place of acceptance of how to deal with something like that. And I can just speak for myself that, death and loss is one thing, but change, which you talked a little bit about, it's like, I hate change. I hold on for dear life. But I find that when I actually breathe and let go, it's a lot easier. Why I don't do that more often, I'm really not sure when I know what works. But, I have lots of time to try and figure that out.
Mhm.
Beautiful. Nicely said. It's so obvious, though. It really is obvious that we hold on to our own peril. But what is it about our preciousness that we hold on and we do it? And somehow I feel there's a survival instinct here. We like to hold on to the known and we don't want to go into the unknown. Yet the unknown is so rich in possibility.
Huh.
And why we deprive ourselves, I don't know.
Well,
Other
the
than, yes,
The other thing is, when you say that, a lot of times we hold on to the known, but the known isn't so wonderful. We hold on to it just because we know it.
yes, yes, exactly. It ain't that great. Yes, beautiful. Is there someone else who would like to share? Thank you.
I would.
Yes, Sage,
Sure.
Okay.
And then whoever else was
I think it was
next.
Vicky.
Awesome. So the best description of grief that I've found has been a visual picture of a box with a button and a ball inside of it. And so the ball moves around and it presses this button. And of course, the button is what stimulates a response.
Mhm.
And I found the visual so helpful because I think it was really hard for me to get past the intensity of the emotion at times. And it can be a very disorienting experience and a bit of a jumbled mess, I think, sometimes. And the various layers of healing that come with grief and denial, avoidance, distraction, and then back to the reality of it, which is just love, right? The love that we have doesn't ever go anywhere. And it's really just our bumping off of our memories or bumping off of our triggers or bumping off of re-traumatizations or whatever it is, right? That sets off these buttons in our being. And it's one of these delicate human experiences. I personally am really grateful that I have Oakland Center for Spiritual Living Community to process Reverend Jeff passing, because I have not always been able to have community processing grief, and just the awareness and the community and the love. And, it's really been an incredible experience to be part of this group and organization and beyond, and just kind of have this centered approach to the humanness and the divineness of who we are and who we came to be, and who we will continue to be, no doubt, when we transcend.
Wow, thank you. In looking at our time, I'm going to sort of stop the sharing at this point to continue on. I want to talk about, just briefly, before we get to our next exercise, what I call the whirlpool experience. When we enter the stream, when we're in grief, especially the deep, deep grief, we're basically hit with a tsunami. It hits hard, really hard. It throws us to the ground. It tumbles us. I like the whirlpool analogy. If when we feel the grief coming on, if we don't fight it, if we surrender to it, we enter the water. And if we go down and just relax into it, we can hold our breath and trust that the water will take us all the way down like a whirlpool does and spit us out the other side. That it's a perfectly safe process. Grieving is a perfectly safe process, and there's no right way of doing it. So the idea is, can we trust the process? Can we trust that when we enter the whirlpool, when we take that last deep breath and we dive in, that we go all the way to the bottom, we explore it all the way down. And you know when you touch bottom because it's done. And it's not done in the way you think it's done. It's just like there's no farther to go. I can't cry any deeper. I can't feel any more empty or alone or isolated. I can't go any farther. And at that point, something starts to reverse. At least this has been my experience. And all of a sudden, I find myself on the surface. And there's a sweetness to that. It's like the depth that I went was also the depth of the love that I had for that person or that situation or that pet or that friendship. Whatever it was the depth of my love. And when we go to the bottom, we discover that. And if we don't go to the bottom, we tend to avoid it and we miss the fruit. We miss the real essence of what can be there when we accept everything as it is. And that's really the lead into our next exercise. And so, Peggy, if you'll get us ready to break out again. What
Yes.
we're going to be doing.
Would you like the same breakouts, or shall we do fresh ones?
Fresh ones.
Oh, okay,
Life is ever changing.
absolutely.
So the question is it possible to accept what is happening right now? Is it possible to accept the way we're behaving to what is happening? Can we accept it all? Not that we like it, but can we accept that this is actually what's happening? Can we give it the space to happen as it is happening? That's the discussion. Get the idea? Okay. If you could break us out now, Peggy.
Sorry.
Are we all back?
Yes, we are.
Oh, goody.
We are.
Yeah.
Great.
We're running late, but it's okay, Mr. Brown. I don't think anybody's upset about it. So
Ooh. Well, I know a lot has come up. Denise, a lot came up in my wonderful group. Let me try to close this up in a little bow quickly. There's no right way to grieve. There's no right way to deal with loss. So you can take yourself off the hook for doing it right. Because every situation is different and it's constantly changing. But I can say is that don't miss out on the opportunity to feel deeply. Because in that feeling deeply, that is, it's what we're longing for, and it's our love connection. And when we avoid feeling deeply, we avoid feeling the love that's already here, that's available. And so that's kind of the invitation in the grieving process, is to feel deeply, is to go into the whirlpool and to go all the way down. And the way to really prepare ourselves for that, or in the grieving process, is to become present. And that's the power of presence, is it brings us to a silence where we can actually feel in a new way. And this isn't a thing of the mind, this is a thing of the heart, this is a thing of the body, this is a nervous system thing. So that when we become present to all of our feeling capacity. And in our feeling capacity, if we can become more interested in that than interested in our thoughts, something changes. Something very magical, call it mystical, changes. And it's the difference between thinking about something and actually doing something. There's a huge difference. A map is not the territory. A map is a map of the territory. So when you enter the territory, things can actually change. But if you're still in your head looking at a map, it gives you an idea, but it's not the territory. And so, as I'm closing, if you were just to feel your body, not to do anything different, but just to turn attention to the body, just as it is, sitting exactly as it is, listening to this voice exactly as it is. And there doesn't need to be a thought. It can simply allow it all to come in, to accept it exactly as it is. And to simply be there in this quiet, connected space with not only our Zoom family, but connected to the room that you're in, feeling the room as it is. You might hear the sound of a refrigerator or a clock ticking, or the sound of traffic. And enjoying that as the reality of this moment. And in this moment, do you honestly have a problem with this moment? And can you accept it exactly as it is? And take a breath and release it. And I want to sincerely thank you for playing tonight in this wonderful Wednesday night service. Thank you, thank you. And I'm turning it back to Paul.
Thank you, Christopher. Can we say thank you to Christopher? Delicate
Thank you,
subject
Christopher.
by a delicate man. So thank you, sir, for doing that. We are running a little bit over on time, but we have some really important messages that I need to share with you. So, Dr. Barber, when you're ready, we can go to the first announcement slide. And that slide's going to show a picture of Reverend Sally and a picture of Bonnie Gonzalez and Constance Chapman.
I don't think you've shared your screen yet, Barbara.
And you're muted, darling.
Yeah. Unmute yourself, Barbara.
Here we go.
There we go.
Okay, we're on our way. So as you can see on the slide, this Sunday, April 4th, Reverend Sally Bartholomew starts off the April theme of stepping into the unknown. Perfect, Christopher. You led us right to it. Stepping into the unknown is the April theme, with the talk on the path less traveled, meditation at 10 and the service at 10:30. And then next Wednesday, April 7th, practitioner Bonnie Gonzalez, who will be back in our time zone soon, Friday actually, along with practitioner Constance Chapman, who has not left this time zone in far too long, are bringing an interactive evening of stepping into the unknown of heartbreak and heart. Meditation at 6:30 and service at 7 next Wednesday night. The memorial wall for Reverend Jeff is still up, and there is still room for your words, drawings, and love. It's on the north fence. As you come into the parking lot, you can't miss it. It's all along the back there. And while you're there, check out the beautiful altar in the social hall that you can view through the window that's closest to the double door entrance. As you look at that memorial, remember Janine, his beloved, as we hold her special tonight, and Reverend Jeff's family. They're going through grief cycle as well as the village. So during this tender time of releasing Reverend Jeff, if you're wanting to be in a more intimate setting with other villagers, join one of the small groups at the center. First, the CALM group meets this Sunday at 12:30 to discuss Love Knows No Bounds, sharing our stories of connection. As well, every day, Monday through Friday, the Noontime Spiritual Journey group continues to meet for a half hour of fellowship and spiritual enrichment based on the daily readings of Reverend Dr. Dan Morgan. Very rich experience. As well, practitioner Susan Brecker is leading an in-person small group every Tuesday from 3 to 4. So that sounds like we're going to start meeting in the center in small groups. And practitioner Zoe DeMuro is leading an online small group on Thursdays at 6:30. Both groups explore the readings for the week and enjoy the connections the gathering affords. Information for all of these groups are on our events page of the website. This is the last week for registration for the upcoming class, Meditation is More Than You Think. This 5-week class will be taught by Reverend Jerry Carter and Reverend Tony Bradford. Sign up today. The class will start next Tuesday, April 6th. The registration link is under the Classes Workshops tab on the website. During this time of transition, the Ecclesiastical Leadership Team, the ELT, is providing opportunities for the village to express their feelings, to honor themselves, and honor Reverend Jeff. On Sunday, April 18th at 8 p.m., the ELT is presenting a recline and release soundscape for deep relaxation on a love offering basis. This hour-long event will be dedicated to Reverend Jeff in the village as we make our way forward into our greatest yet to be. In this practice, we will begin with an affirmative prayer for ease and grace in transition for both Reverend Jeff and our village. This prayer will be released into the practice and given wings as we gather in closing. Having faith that all is God and all is good. It will begin with breath work and gentle stretching as we come to recline on a mat, a firm surface, or even a zero gravity recliner. Participants will be guided through a relaxation and then immersed in sound, singing bowls, gongs, koshi chimes, and more, to soothe the mind, body, and spirit, with the intention of promoting relaxing, releasing of any tension or stress, and working to restore and renew oneself and the village. Practicing from home means you can set up your space to make it personal. Consider setting up a diffuser with your favorite essential oils and lighting candles or incense. Headphones can enhance the experience, and you will not need to zoom after we begin. You will only need to listen to the sound. So those are our event announcements. I want everybody to remember to visit our Facebook page and know that everything that's going on at Oakland Center is on our website, oaklandcsl.org. That is the information central for all of our digital activities as we continue to shelter in place with grace. You can check out the YouTube page. You can see tonight's Wednesday service there. Also the Village Facebook group and the YouTube channel for a whole bunch of other community videos. If you want to receive our newsletter, make sure you go to the homepage, lower left-hand corner, enter your email address and submit it. I want to first thank Susan Urquhart Brown for the beautiful meditation tonight. Of course, our wonderful speaker, Christopher Brown. Also the Zoom team, Peggy, Barbara, Sage, Alice, and Peter. And Constance as well joined us. Thank you all for supporting us to make these things happen. It's very important. I want to take a minute and let you know that we're going to do a digital offering. Real quick, here's my bowl, receiving your gift. I'm passing it around, cube to cube to cube to cube to cube, receiving your gift, holding it close to my heart. As I say, this gift I give is God in action. It does good work in the world and blesses our creation. I deposit it into the ever receiving spirit that knows that when we give, we also receive. And with that, how can you give if not through my digital bowl? You can go to the website where everything else lives and use the donate button, or you can text it at 510-327-3431, or you can also put in a check in the mail and the address is right there. Again, everything that we do is at www.oaklandcsl.org. So please check out the website for the latest information and you'll know what's going on. And with that in mind, again, thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you for everybody that attended tonight. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Special thoughts for our beloved Janine and Reverend Jeff's family and all of you during this tender time. I ask Christopher if he'll close us out in prayer. Mr. Brown.
Yes, thank you, Paul. As we take a breath together, and as we enter the stream of life that connects us all, that unites us all. And in this connection and in this uniting, we simply relax. It's able to float in that stream. And we know that that stream is not really of water, but it is of love. For love is the greatest power. And as that love carries us through these tender times, we think of those that are in need, those that are grieving, those that have been touched by loss. And our hearts simply open to them in the most beautiful and tender way. And we simply uplift them with our prayers and our smiles and our heartfelt hellos. And we know also that it is our love that buoys them into their next avenue and next arena of grief. And so, as we move away from our meeting tonight, we carry with us the love of this group, the love of ourselves, and the love that permeates all of life. We recognize this, we accept it as it is, we bless it, and we let it go and be, and so it is.